Silence. You as a judge are the gatekeeper to activity. The role of the judge is to cohere to the demand of the oppressed and dedicate your ballot to resist structural oppression. The question of knowledge production has to come first. Wise away, until the voices of economically and radically marginalized persons are heard, there can be no debate. The role of the ballot is to evaluate who best methodologically reduces structural violence. All ethical theories assume some form of meritocracy between people, but structural violence places people into rid out groups, leaving some outside of their moral circles, making the ethical systems broken. Our conversation of structural violence has to come first. We must recognize those who are in the shadows. Winter and Way to 99, historical contemporary issues have illuminated peace psychology to the use of justice and intergroup responses for transgressions of justice, peace, conflict, and violence. Finally, to recognize the operation of structural violence forces us to recognize that our most sure-footed path to building lasting peace is through meritocracy. Our study of knowledge has practical historical effects. This is a key site for opening up to practical space to challenge colonial power. McNullo 2000. Walter Professor, following the previous configuration of the field of knowledge, is the local studies of global designs in the process of building the modern colonial world system. And colonialism perpetuates dehumanization and legitimizes human exploitation. It is the most insidious form of structural violence. Hayes 98, lecturer in the Department of Political Science at Johns Hopkins University. Oppression and resentment the black experience in the United States points out that in the colonial situation, the primary critical Oxford Blackwell publishers himself as engaged analytically critically in the form of unveiling structural violence. Plan. The United States federal government should remove political conditions from humanitarian aid by discontinuing Section 620A of the Foreign Assistance Act to remove Cuba from the state sponsor of terrorism list. Aid adherency. There are no plans for removing Cuba from the state sponsor of terrorism. Haven 13. The Associated Press chief of bureau in Havana, Cuba, following 3 years of leading the cooperative team operation in Spain and Portugal as Madrid bureau chief writes, a State Department spokesman said Wednesday that Washington had no plans to alter Cuba's status in the near future. Because topicality, the terror list is a political condition placed on humanitarian aid. Being on it restricts or stops the aid a country can receive. Sullivan 05, under various provisions of law, certain trade benefits most foreign government and has repeatedly provided support for acts of international terrorism. This act is topical. It lifts Section 620A of the Foreign Assistance Act, which controls who does and who does not receive foreign aid from the United States, which means that it ends a political condition on all U.S. humanitarian aid. Part 2 is a demarcation of Cuba. Imperialist sentiments persist in the present day via Cuba's inclusion on the U.S. state sponsor of terrorism list, a distinction which both delegitimizes Cuba's government and validates violent intervention from the U.S. Belender 13 writes, an oral history of terrorism against Cuba and Cuba under siege is that terrorists and terrorism have practiced against Cuba, while an alternative U.S. audience watched President Obama outline his speech to all those who have been actual victims of terrorism. This demarcation of Cuba as a rogue state is not a neutral gesture. Rather, Cuba's exclusion illuminates a broader matrix of sovereignty, wherein any country that deviates from the path laid out by Western imperialism is divested of nationhood and sentenced to die. Gordy and Lee 09. Research professor at the Asiatic Research Center in 2007, Cuba and the DPRK appeared yet again on the United States state-sponsored of terrorism. The laws failing to play by the rules of the system result in rogue specters and an elimination of a matrix of sovereignty. The designation constructs Cuba as a foil for a fantasy of American innocence and benevolence, locating blame for terrorism and foreign others that Cuba is designated to play to racist predispositions and sanitize brutal American foreign policy. Gross Cup 2000. For nearly 2 centuries, the rationalization system of American foreign countries have to be highly controversial with the approval of most Americans. Part 3 is setting up. Cuba is a crucial starting point. It strikes an unnerving chord because of its persistent decades-long confrontation with imperialism and potential to set an example of resistance to the global South. Whitney 13 writes, the U.S. government itself is a purveyor of terrorism. Its worldwide movements demanding that U.S. President Obama release them. So, vote aye. Open. Thanks, guys.
So, structure of your AF is just what, neo-colonialism K and a plan? What is it?
Basically, it's saying like, I have a plan that's saying we have to remove Cuba from the terrorist list.
Yeah, but
reduce-
before your plan, you're talking about neo-colonialism and imperialism, right?
No, that's
Outside.
after the K. That's like the implications of the, like.
That's after the K, so you have the K, right?
After doesn't run K.
You just said after the K. Okay, cool. Okay, so going on when you say demarcation of Cuba, what exactly do you mean? Just for clarification.
What do I mean? Okay, so like when we have this list, we're like demarcating Cuba to other countries as a terrorism sponsor.
Okay, so you just restated what I just asked you. Can you just explain, like?
Yeah, we're saying to other countries that they're terrorists, like they're a terrorist country.
Whenever we. Okay, so.
When we put them on a list. So by removing off the list, they're not on the U.S. state sponsors of terrorism. So they're not considered like a terrorist nation.
Why are they on the list of terrorism in the first place?
Because that's. What do you mean? Why are they on the list?
Yeah, you said we placed them on the list. Why are they on the list in the first place?
Why are they on the list? I don't know.
Okay, so then you said there's an imperialism confrontation and that Cuba is crucial and kind of offsetting this imperialistic mindset that we have. Can you clarify your part 3?
Part 3.
Yeah, your part 3. What do you mean by imperialism confrontation?
Yeah, so like having Cuba on this list like kind of like closes off all other countries. So Cuba's under like the national like soft power hegemony of the United
Okay,
States.
so you're essentially saying it's imperialism.
Soft power imperialism.
Soft power imperialism.
Neo-colonialism.
Okay, so if I prove to you that, actually, what actual benefits do we have of like removing these conditions?
Yeah. Okay. So like having this like Cuba on this terror list like perpetuates this cycle of dehumanization and it strips people of these rights.
How exactly are they dehumanized if they're already labeled as terrorists?
Exactly. They're not all terrorists, and they're like placed under these conditions where other countries don't.
So are you saying we placed Cuba as under the terrorist watch because the people are terrorists or the country itself has potential acts of
Say that again. Sorry.
Is it or are you saying that the U.S. federal government placed Cuba as a terrorist list
Yeah.
on the terrorist list because the people are terrorists or because
Wait. Do you think
country
everyone is a
itself.
terrorist?
No, it's my CX. And no, I'm asking what do you exactly mean when Cuba's placed on the list of terrorists?
What do you mean? What I mean? I just explained like other countries like don't like interact with them as well. Like it makes them like look under like United States influence, so no one like has the guts to like.
Okay, so your plan's basically essentially critiquing colonialism, right?
No, it's taking them off a list, so they're not.
But then
terrorists.
you're critiquing imperialistic efforts, so.
I'm not critiquing imperialistic efforts.
Then why are you saying that the imperialism confrontation
No, I mean,
shouldn't
that's
have
the
that?
problem. I'm not critiquing anything. That's
Yeah,
for the
that's
neg.
whatever.
Your neg critiques.
Alright.
Okay.
Can I see your case? Just for a second.
You flash it to him, Jerry?
Yeah. I negate, resolve, placing political conditions on humanitarian aid to foreign countries is unjust. I value justice. My value criteria is preserving human dignity, rights, autonomy, life, through social contract. Definitions. From Carey, 2007, Journal of Peace Research. Political conditions means that donors attach conditions to aid that have been met by the recipient as a prerequisite for entering into an aid agreement or for keeping up aid. Conditions to ensure the right to personal integrity, which means being free from torture, political imprisonment, disappearance, and extrajudicial killings. Observation 1. Examples of any humanitarian aid that does not include political conditions and any harm associated with that aid must not be accounted for in this round. Observation 2. The resolution isn't invoking the argumentation of whether or not humanitarian aid is bad or good, thus proving one or the other will also have no weight in this round. Convention 1. Political conditions protect human rights. Subpoint A. Political conditions used to deter voter corruption in Haiti. From CIFE 2009. General elections in Haiti took place in order to choose 19 senators, 83 members of the parliament, 133 mayors, and 7,124 local assembly members. OAS was in charge to observe elections and noted a number of irregularities, some instances of fraud, and use of a legal method to calculate the votes for Senate candidates. The Haitian authorities, however, refused to review the elections. The failure of the Haitian authorities to take the EU concerns into account led to a commission proposal by the end of the year to conclude that the consultations and and impose severe sanctions. The suspension of the direct budget aid, redirection of the remaining funds to projects directly benefiting Haiti and the Haitian people, civil society and projects supporting democratization and the rule of law. The purpose of political conditions is to keep recipient foreign countries on a straight path through a human rights perspective. In this case, Haiti, the EU rightfully decided to suspend aid in some areas due to government's infringement on autonomy. Impacts are political conditions does empirically secure human autonomy, increases quality of life through and redirects aid. Subpoint B, clear normalization of countries given aid from CIFE 2009. 11 cases in which the EU initiated consultations show considerable progress in political rights and civil liberties visible during the implementation of appropriate measures. We conclude that in the case of Haiti, sanctions did contribute to changes in political situation. The normalization of the economic cooperation between the government in Haiti and the international financial institutions was conditions to these commitments. Condition 2, political conditions are just according to the international law. From Roth 2009, the revised Contenu, a treaty for humanitarian aid implementation, tries to be more concrete, stating that political dialogue concerning respect for human rights, democratic principles, and the rule of law shall be conducted pursuant to Article 8 and Article 9.4 of the agreement within the parameters of internationally recognized standards and norms. Another attempt to make political dialogue more concrete in order to enhance flexibility and give parties the time for preparation. The notification period for the consultation procedure is doubled to 30 days. Thus, political conditions attached in the Contenu Treaty are done so only to sustain human rights and curb any potential violation of their people's way of life. The conditions are placed under the parameters of international law, whereas countries must consult targeted countries to develop an efficient plan and for aid implementation. You as a judge are going to vote neg because political conditions are placed on humanitarian aid solely to ensure the fair usage and implementation of aid given. Ongoing examples like Haiti and the Contenu Treaty empirically prove that political conditions are entirely just as it upholds international law and accepts as norms throughout various groups like the EU and OECD. Now for theory. Stolen cases bad. Theory comes first, applies to all else in debate. Theory comes before we can do in the round. Extending reasonability collapse into the competing interpretations. You can only determine whether a system is reasonable or whether a violation is bad through an interpretation of what it may ought to be. A is interpretation. Debaters may only run arguments that their research are right themselves. B is a violation. He's running the neo-colonial campaign in Cuba AC plan written by Greenhill. This goes on and stolen. One is prep skew. The affirmative doesn't have to invest much time in creating cases, which gives them substantially more time to for double possible negative positions. By using the wiki and stealing those arguments, my opponents say that's the amount of time that goes into writing the KMP basically that he found. This makes the round unfair for me because Jerry has to spend no time writing the actual case. This also means Jerry doesn't have to hang on his feet in the round as I've already prepped everything out. 2. Original research. Education can only occur if debaters invest time in researching and exploring ideas. If debaters can steal from other debaters and avoid doing original research, this means no new education can be created in debate. This also feels fun because we don't delve into new ideas, but look into new literature merely to recycle old things. 3, 4, and 5. Philosophical, policy, and real-world education. When a debater just copies arguments on the internet, they don't have to read the literature themselves. Even if the cards are only sites, they still point the debater to specific points in literature, meaning the only skim for provided cards rather than trying to read and interpret literature. No education can occur in this scenario. 6. Real-world preparation. Debate prepares us for the real world. Its argumentation structure teaches us to advocate sides of conflicts, and its research allows us to develop new ideas, interpret complex ideas. Just stealing off pages of the wiki is analogous to plagiarism in the real world. Normalizing this means that debate becomes an unethical and educational activity. This is independent voter because real world preparation is one of the major benefits of debate and the only purpose of debate education. Voters, education. Education is the basic purpose of debate. Without education, debate contains no legitimization and debaters gain nothing from debate. We're ultimately only funded because debate is an educational activity. Fairness. Debate is competitive activity based on the adversarial format. At the end of the round, the judge has to pick only one of us. A competitive activity is illegitimate if it has no impartial rules. Also, debaters would not even debate if debate weren't fair. Fun. We ultimately debate because it's fun. Without fun, there's no incentive to participate or exert ourselves to receive the most educational benefit. Fun is key to actually achieving any of the stated benefits of debate. By feeling fun in the round and just trying to be strategic through what would in the real world be called cheating. Jerry has killed the benefits of debate. Finally, debate leads to there is a matter of competing interpretations. One race to the top. Competing interpretations incentivize us to imagine better norms for debate. Only by formulating theory in terms of competing interpretations we can create the best possible norms for debate. 2. Reasonability ultimately collapses into competing interpretations. The only way to determine whether something is more reasonable in terms of whether the underlying interpretation is better. 3. Intervention. Competing interpretation creates a clear weighing framework on the standards level of theory debate. Under reasonability, the judge's decision is based subjectively on whether the affirmative provided sufficient defense on the standards level. Competing interpretation reduces intervention by allowing additional standards and clear weighing between different interpretations. Theory is drop debater, otherwise vote neg. 1. Only way to incentivize debaters to change. 2. Only way to deter abuse. Now looking over the AF case. his role in the ballot is to reduce structural violence. However, we can never reduce structural violence and save lives if the lives aren't even worth saving. Now, my value weighs over anything in this round. First of all, theory weighs over any. It must come first in this round, and then my value of justice and preserving human dignity is more important than his role in the ballot of reducing structural violence. As in, reducing structural violence essentially has no purpose if justice isn't, if people still don't have the justice that they deserve. And that's why my value is over his. Now, going to his case when he talks about colonialism, in my NC, I never talked about colonialism. I said it's only solely in order to actually help, it's only solely done to actually help the people, as in, it's not necessarily colonialism. So, those reasons. But,
Okay, who wrote that theory show? Was it Rajat?
no,
No, you wrote it yourself.
I wrote it, but with help.
So
But I didn't rip it off the weekly and printed it out. It says, what is it, HSLD?
you copied the okay, got copies. Like, who wrote your theory show? Did you commit like plagiarism yourself, like by not handwriting your like writing?
Last time I checked, I think I typed it myself.
You typed it,
But with verbal support.
Oh, so these ideas come from Rajat himself.
No,
So your own theory shell turns against yourself by saying that we shouldn't have people taking ideas from other places when you wrote that from someone else's idea. Is that not right?
That's actually not what I'm saying. I'm saying is
Not
that
at
my
all?
whole entire case is, my theory shell is not my case.
But your theory shell was still written by someone, or
It
still
wasn't
came
written
from
by
someone else, was it not?
Okay. In order to read, you need to get help to actually learn how to read. So are you essentially saying that everything you're doing is plagiarism because someone helped you to learn how to read? And now that's why, like, you learn how to write. You're right. You learn how to write because someone else writes. Yeah. Okay, so are you saying everything that you're doing is plagiarism is because you got help from someone else? It's not plagiarism because I essentially, I got help from someone.
Okay, sure, I agree with that.
That's true. I got
Everything I
help
say, everything I do is
from,
plagiarism.
I'm just answering your
So
question.
why would that be?
I got help from, yeah, I know, I got help from someone, okay?
Exactly. So
So I didn't have someone else write it and I just ripped it off of them.
So writing it, the form, like, but still, that came from someone else, did it not?
No, it didn't come from someone else. It came from myself with the aid of someone else.
Yeah. How did you like write it? Like, where did your?
How did I write it? I used my 10 fingers.
Where did you find like the inspiration to write it?
Inspiration?
It is.
God is my inspiration.
Okay, do you agree that education should come first?
Education should come first.
Yeah.
Or
Education should come first in a debate. Education should come first.
Guys, be quiet.
Education should come before
Actually,
all
no.
else,
I think
it's the only thing that we
no,
can take out of it. Right?
Actually, no. Actually, not really.
What should be?
I take winning really seriously, so winning is first, and then it's education. It's actually fun in winning, because winning is fun, and then it's education.
Okay.
Because I can learn from how to win.
So winning first, regardless of any abuses, winning comes first before education, before we can take
what
out
abuses?
anything from the round.
How am I abusing you?
I'm just saying, like, theoretically
Who's using the movie?
this is my cross-sex.
Oh, it is? Okay, sorry.
Alright, so you're saying that whatever means we need to go get, like, attain winning, it trumps education, what we can get out of it.
Context.
Like, what you're saying right now is abusive, is it not? By saying, like, we should value winning, like,
Now
by
let
any
keep
means
going,
of
please,
winning.
Mr. Trent. Let
That's
keep
it.
going.
Like, any means of winning. Okay, give me a straight answer. Okay.
Sharing
So,
copy to create
you're saying,
and
like,
will
is it not, like,
newer.
why are you saying that we should win more, even though we can, like, win through any means over?
That doesn't make any sense. What do you mean win for any
Like, like,
Well, yeah, it is. It's only educational if I make my own cases and I do the research.
but you,
Yeah, so I am. I'm actually
Okay.
being educational right
no,
now,
no prep time.
and I think I'm winning. Would you agree?
I don't agree.
Shut up.
Jerry, don't lie. God will know.
Cool. Okay. First off, on theory, stolen case. Will himself violates this by getting this shell himself off of Rajan. Like he conceded this from Rajan. So like you can see like the implications turn to his side too. So the best way to evaluate this round is to not consider theory at all, first of all. Secondly, he says like it reduces education, but by me getting an accessible case to the person that won LD at state, I'm able to like communicate like the things that we need to address, like the greater issues. Like this is clearly a winning case. So like by arguing better cases, we can get more education out of debate itself. So by him saying we're taking away from education, just by buying theory yourself, it's also reducing education because you're voting for something that's not like even part of the resolution. Okay. Yeah, okay, and furthermore, like, I know this case. Like, I watched him, like, in finals LD round on Friday last week. Like, I know what he's running, and I can, like, explain to Will, like, any time of the day he wants what this case is about. By me, like, getting, like, literature from somewhere else, it's like saying I can't, like, quote from a book, right? So I'm using this case, like, so, like, I can use the ideas and lend them to myself to help me argue this better in a round. So, on to case. By him dismissing this, like, as, like, by him, like, dismissing this, he's not, like, actually engaging in, like, this, like, talk about, like, Cuba. So, okay, what I'm saying is, like, he's, like, saying, look to his neck, right? But, like, when he's not engaging this discourse, we're, like, ignoring, like, this topic about Cuba. But the fact is, like, we have to, like, address this because these people are in the shadows and these people need to be, like, acknowledged and the problems need to be addressed. Like, he himself, like, completely ignores in his 1NC, like, the implications of Cuba, like, being on this Cuba list, or being on this terror list, because he himself, like, he says he values justice, but by, like, not engaging in this plan, by keeping Cuba on this terror list, the citizens of Cuba are, like, in constant structural oppression because of, like, this colonialistic, like, actions by the United States and by placing him on this terror list. And going on to how he values justice, he talks about, like, Haiti, which is, like, completely not relevant because I'm saying, like, this is, like, unjust in the case of Cuba where it's, like, promoting these structural violence. So, like, going down to his 1NC, you're not going to be, like, buying Haiti at all because it's not going to be, like, relevant at all because the app presents the plan and he has to, like, adhere to the plan. He, like, completely read everything, like, off the computer. I don't see how, like, he actually directly attacked my case. And then the fact is, like, yeah. So, yeah. Wait, who's recording this? Where's the phone?
Alright, first and foremost, I'd like to say that he spent his whole entire time attacking my theory shell, even though he completely concedes to that, and even says it. Actually, quote, I saw his case, I saw him debate. Either he's plagiarizing or he really likes to refer himself to the third person, so I really don't know which one it is, but I'm pretty sure it's the former. And so all of my contentions that I've listed in my 1NC, basically how I value justice and value criteria and how Haitian people, political conditions have actually deterred plagiarism in Haiti, and he hasn't attacked any of that, so it stands as true, and I do actually meet my value, and I solve better on the NC side. So just going over the general theory shell for that, he claims that I plagiarized the theory shell, when in fact I told him that we were actually during CX, he asked me about that, and I just basically put it flat out and told him that I essentially created it myself, you know, with my 10 fingers and with the help of Rajat, of course. But getting help isn't plagiarism. If getting help is plagiarism, then all debate camps breed plagiarists because you get help at debate camp, and I'm pretty sure you write files there too. You get to use the files because you've done the research yourself. He hasn't done the research all himself, and again, this case is from SLD Wiki. He didn't even bother to even put it into Word. I primarily win this round because, first of all, you can move all my contention throughout the round on your flow because he hasn't attacked any of my contentions. And in fact, matter of fact, he said I didn't attack his 1 AC when my theory show basically attacks his whole AC and his mentality as a debater. That basically attacks his case. And I solve better again. Let's go over my contentions. The main examples I give you is the Cotonou Treaty, and that basically how I define political conditions, he hasn't attacked that either, so political conditions I define as any conditions onto aid that actually politically can stabilize politically that region, and I've shown through Haiti where aid is given to the Haitian people, but the Haitian people are actually rigging elections, which is essentially compromising their human rights and human autonomy. And they use these conditions to actually place sanctions on them and actually revoke that aid. And that essentially is what these political conditions are doing on this humanitarian aid. That is completely just because it actually promotes human rights. And I've already explained, how human rights should come first before his role about reducing structural violence, as structural violence really has no meaning in this round if human rights are compromised. And yeah, so vote egg.
Jerry.
Yeah, no prep time.
Guys, after this round, we're carrying William off the stage.
Order will be theory. 1 AC, 1 NC voters, implications. Alright. Go to theory, he completely concedes the fact that he took this from Rajat, he conceded in Crossfire too, how Rajat gave him the idea to write this. So you're not gonna be buying theory at all because it's a double on both sides. You're just gonna be ignoring theory because he violates too. You can put all the implications under his side and you're gonna see there's no net voter for any side. Because he got it from Rajat. Okay. Now that's cleared up. No theory in this round. Okay. Theory is dropped. Going to my case, the 1 AC, I have the burden of giving the plan what we're doing. He completely ignores this by bringing up his own case about Haiti, which isn't even relevant. My plan text is removing Cuba off the terror list to reduce dehumanization and structural violence. He ignores this. He says that theory attacks all of it, and he doesn't address the fact that these people are in the shadows and they're suffering from structural oppression. So by we have to engage in this discourse. You're definitely not going to be voting for theory because we're not going to be able to talk about it in round. So by having this discussion right now, you're gonna be your role of the ballot is to help these people, because we can actually see change once we vote, once we implement this plan. If you're going for the neg team, all that's happening is you're voting for the fact that, oh, hey, look, I printed a case because I thought it was good. He got you're committed. The role of the ballot comes first, and you're committed to actually stopping this structural violence from happening. Wait, no. Be quiet. Okay. There's no offense coming off of the 1 NC because it just talks about Haiti, right? And he doesn't even he can't achieve justice solely by not implementing any course of action. There's no justice in the present system. What's happening in Cuba. Other than that, the role of the ballot is going to come first because that's what the judge is obligated to do before any in round values and stuff. That's 9. Okay. So yeah, save the people of Cuba. Vote AF.
We should vote next.
Wait.